All right, we're going to introduce the new host of the after show, but first I got to go to the show and welcome Karl to the show. Karl, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well, but Mike, I'm looking for my gift. Did you not send it yet? I didn't see it.
You don't know. We gotta share some. All you've been doing is making fun of me. How am I sending you gifts?
I thought everyone got a gift on this show. I didn't realize.
Next year.
You have to talk about him three times on your show before you get a gift.
Yeah. Karl hosts a show
no problem.
called Who Are These Podcasts, which I think is a brilliant idea. It's a podcast show about people who have podcasts. Now, it did first come to my attention. Yes, guys.
I was going to say so smart because you're never going to run out of podcasts.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
True.
There's every day Ernie and his buddy decided to start a podcast, so there's more podcasts for you to take down.
Karl, who was the first podcast where you were like, we should do a podcast, talk about these jackals?
Honestly, my buddy and I were trying to think of what we should do as a podcast back in 2016. And I was a huge fan of Jocktober, the segment they did on Opie and Anthony.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, no one's taking down all these shitty podcasts. We should do that.
Can't say that word still on this radio show.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. It's all right.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, so Opie and Anthony did Jocktober, which was a little bit unfair, but also awesome to listen to. They would listen to the horrible morning shows, kind of like we do in our building. We listen to other morning shows among the other stations at Cox.
My buddy Adam Smasher made that.
Oh, he made Jocktober on there? That's great. And it's a little unfair because I remember Opie and Anthony did Chad and Christy one time, and Chad and Christy are a husband-wife team that did mornings in our building, but they did it they're talking to like a different audience. They're not talking to Opie and Anthony's audience. So Opie and Anthony just smashed them, and it was fun to listen to. So you guys get this idea. What's the first couple of podcasts you do?
Well, the first few that we did were completely unknown shows, and then we started doing more celebrity podcasts and ones that were ex-radio guys.
Yeah.
Like one of the early ones we did was Man Cow.
Oh, does he not do radio?
Surprised.
Does he not do radio anymore?
I don't think he's on radio anymore.
Oh, interesting. I never liked that guy. Okay, so and how bad was his podcast? Was it good or was it bad?
It was terrible. You had all these guys just screaming at the same time in the background. One of the rules of radio is one person talks at a time.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to do when you have a big cast, but if you're a good morning show, you figure that out. So you do Man Cow, and then you get on my radar when I found out you guys did the glorious Hoppy Hour podcast.
Oh, yes, Ryan Hoppy. You know that guy?
Know him. I want to say we made Hoppy a superstar here in Tampa.
By the way, not we.
Yeah, I made Hoppy a superstar. Nobody else liked him except for me. And then, he's like if you gave he doesn't want to admit he's a special needs kid is what the problem is with Hoppy.
I was going to say, he is slow, right?
He is. My wife is a therapist, and she's sure that he's on the autism spectrum. It doesn't make him a bad guy, but it definitely adds to it. He is not aware of his surroundings.
Right, and he was on my radar because he had Chad Zumock on his show, which is another slow guy.
I won't argue that either. So, I first hear about it that my wife and I decided to do a podcast because I only work for a couple hours a day, 4 or 5 hours a day. She, as a therapist that does clients from home and on Zoom or whatever they use, so she has time. So we spend a lot of time together. And we were trying to think of something that, we don't have hobbies. We don't do it. And we're like, well, maybe we'll do a podcast for the fun of it. And so we got on there and we did it. And the first one went better than I thought. The second one better than the first one. And they each got better as time went on. And we're like, all right, we'll keep doing this. They're really, I heard you guys criticizing on the air saying that that the goal is to get millions of listeners and make a ton of money off it and all that stuff. We don't even get millions of people watching the radio show. We're not, I consider us a radio show that also has a YouTube presence. We're not making money off of the YouTube. Do you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. And it's one of the things that you did when you talked about our critique is you do this cop-out thing where if it's really successful, you can say, hey, it's really successful. Or you can say, we're not even trying. We don't even care. We're just doing it for fun.
Well, no. We are trying.
So it gives you this out.
We are trying.
Okay.
We are trying to make it entertaining. Why would we do it if we didn't? But there's no goal for us. Like I will tell you that our radio show, which reaches, almost 2 million people in the Tampa Bay area, has been number one for the longest time than any other morning radio show has ever been number one. We reach a lot of people. Our YouTube reaches like 2,000 people. It's not a priority for us. It's like an accompaniment with what we do. And with this podcast, we were just trying to do something that could be fun for us, for a husband and wife to do together, and try to make it not as cheesy as other husband and wife podcasts. Do you follow what I'm saying? It's not a cop-out. It's the actual... if it now right away when we got a call and they said, hey, we're going to pay you a lot of money to go do it from this winter salsa land, we were like, okay, we might be onto something here. But it was an added bonus.
How much you get paid for that gig?
Yeah. How much?
Yeah.
Can I text it to you? I don't know if I could say it on the air.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm interested in that.
How much do you think I got paid, Carmen?
Well, your appearance fee for like gigs.
Yeah.
I guess I estimate like around like 1,500-ish.
You're low.
I'm low.
You're low.
So 2,000 for appearances, 1,000 an hour. So for that, you're broadcasting, which I'm gonna go.
And it was set up by Melanie, who likes him and always pushes to get him more money.
Right, and it was like
$2,500.
Okay.
There you go.
Thank you.
I don't know, we were so close. Why just dance around it? $2,500 to go there and sit there for 48 minutes and talk to the Real Housewives and a bunch of dudes that we like that we happen to work with. So right away after 9 episodes, we're already getting paying gigs. I thought that was a pretty good success
now, did
story.
you split that with your wife?
No, she gets it all. I don't get any of it. She gets it all. I don't know. I've never even seen a paycheck. Now the other thing is, what else did you guys say? What were some of the other critiques?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
About the show?
Please.
All right. Amanda is a lovely person. I'm worried about her self-esteem. Are you trying to toughen her up? Is that the point of this show?
No.
You're reading the comments to her. She's going through the comments.
Listen, you dicks can't ruin this for me. The only reason I got a hot chick like that is because she has low self-esteem. Don't try to build her self-esteem up.
Okay.
There's no
so you
way.
Do realize that.
Yes. Don't be. I like the fact that she's beaten down. Don't try to make her stronger.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, now let me ask you this question: is one of the other guys on the show Drew from Drew and Mike?
Yes, I was over at his house this past weekend when we were doing your show.
And they did mornings in Detroit forever, right?
Yeah, number one in Detroit for decades.
Those guys are legends. Okay, so I got to tell you a story about them in a second. But so one of you guys said that she was a bitch. She's really not bitchy. She's actually to a fault sweet. But I think she's shy. And I think
funny.
Yeah, no.
You guys addressed that on your most recent episode. You go, yeah, they say that you were a bitch. And she made a face that we just froze, and it was perfect.
Oh, no.
Because she's actually super sweet for somebody, you expect her to be a little bitchy, and she's not. It's partly because of her self-esteem. And there was something else I was going to tell you that you said. Anyway, so one day in my old house, I had a small setup in my studio so that I could do production and stuff from home. And I had a phone line in there. Now, I don't know your background in radio, Karl. But I'm sure at some point you've called into a radio station, and when they take your call, there's a noise that goes, and you hear that before you go live on the air. You familiar with that?
Of course, yeah.
Okay. So I come home one afternoon, and I stopped in my office for a second to grab something, my home office, and I look down at my phone line. The only phone line that I have is ringing. And I look at it and I go, who is this? So I answer the phone and I go, hello. And right away I hear, hello. And I go, uh-huh. And I also know that it's illegal to put somebody on the air without their permission. And at the time I'm having fights with other radio guys. So I'm like, let's see what this is. So I go, yes. And they're like, hi, are you in Florida? And I go, yeah. And they're like, we're calling about this, and this. So it turned out there was a story about a woman. I think she was farting really bad at work. It was like a throwaway story. We talked about it on the show, and her other coworkers were complaining about it and won fire. So it turned out that it was Drew and Mike who called, and they just ran. And what they did was they found out where the woman worked, and they got the phone number of somebody in the office, and then they just started dialing other extensions trying to find this woman who got in trouble for farting at work, and randomly called my house and grabbed me. How weird is that?
That's incredible. That's one of the things. Their due diligence with finding that people are in the news stories is pretty incredible.
Yeah, I thought it was.
That's awesome.
At the end of the conversation, I was like, "Hey, I was like, you guys have no idea I'm on the radio," and they were like, "No." And then when we started talking, we realized who each other was. But it was pretty interesting. All right, so
Drew's a great guy. Actually, he hooked me up. We went to the Detroit Buffalo game on this past Sunday, which is an amazing game.
That's awesome. I got to be honest with you. I don't know what the response is that you get from other people or what mine is supposed to be, but I was thoroughly flattered, enjoyed your annoyingly accurate description of what my podcast was with my wife, and she was very upset that you guys doubted her love and knowledge of the Wu-Tang Clan.
I hear that she is a poser. She doesn't even know anything about them.
Oh, you're gonna make her come there and fight you. You realize that?
That's what I'm hearing, man. I see a lot of that in the comments. I don't know.
Yeah, the comments are even worse than the comments on the podcast. But I honestly wanted to reach out. I think it's a great idea what you guys do. I love the fact that you're busting my balls, and I hopefully will make it to another episode.
I appreciate it, buddy. Thanks for having me on the show. Whoarethese.com is where people can go to find all things Who Are These podcasts, and of course, subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
And you could go watch the Ryan Hoppy episodes, which are awesome as well. So thank you, Karl.
Yes. Check those out. Thanks, Mike.
See you, buddy. There you go.